What's up, everybody? We back up in here, Hella Flagrant, the podcast. It's your main man, Hella Flagrant DM. I'm in here with my brother Sean B. Flagrant. Y'all see it? Y'all see the jerseys? You know what time it is. It's Super Bowl LV, Super Bowl 50, man. It's time to kick it off. Sean B. Flagrant, you ready for the big game, bro?
Yeah, man, of course, man. Super Bowl Sunday, obviously a great time of year. It's where you get together with your family. But of course, right now, COVID-19, please stay socially distant, away from everybody in the party. But hey, have a good time. We got
Bro.
these two teams, right? Hey. I mean,
I'm just saying,
unless you're in Florida for the
The
big game,
NFL has
man,
made it clear that they are letting it loose a little bit down there
unless you're in
in
Florida ready
Tampa.
for the big game, Tampa. I mean, that's where the Super Bowl is being held this year. So
Yeah.
if you're out there, stay safe, please, but have a good time out there and enjoy the game. But anyway, man, the first time in NFL history, we got a home team playing in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, I
Yeah,
mean,
I know, and it's crazy. It's interesting, specifically for me because I spent so much time in the Tampa, Florida area with the college down there, first job. I have a son down there. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of personal history in the Tampa Bay area, so this is just an interesting thing for me. Obviously, as a sports fan, to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers host their own team in the Super Bowl as they play the defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. So it can't get more exciting than this. I don't think when the season started, COVID or not, I don't think anybody really wanted to see any other game. I mean, there's some other teams that were good throughout the season, but I really don't think anybody else really wanted to see any other matchup. I mean, you got Tom Brady, who obviously historically, if you've been living under a rock for the last 20 years, the man has been the greatest quarterback in the history of the game of football, and he's been with one team, the New England Patriots. And so he left that team and came to Tampa Bay, and everybody was wondering, was it the system or was it Brady? Could he get back? And obviously, him coming back is an amazing thing. And then you got the Chiefs, where in the NFL, the repeat is something that's, it's very unlikely. It's highly unlikely. It hasn't happened very often. Not too many teams are able to repeat in the NFL for a number of reasons, and we'll get into that. But it's just, what I'm saying? It's an exciting matchup. Tampa Bay's hosting it. So, for everything that's gone on this year, COVID and everything else that people have gone through, I think this is as exciting of a game as that, you could get as a football fan.
yeah, no, I mean this is what it's all about. I mean, I heard somebody saying this is like Jordan versus LeBron James. This is the matchup you've wanted. The greatest football player to ever live versus the up and coming greatest player to probably ever do it when he's done. I'm not gonna put too much pressure on him, but hey, the
Yeah.
guy looks like a superstar. But I mean, offensively, you couldn't have asked for a better Super Bowl. I mean, Tampa Bay
Nah.
Buccaneers have been thriving since Tom Brady has been there. Obviously, with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, the addition of Antonio Brown, even little Scotty Miller, who they had on the team. I don't even know where he came from, but that dude is raw.
Yeah.
Man, he be catching deep fly balls all through the thing. So, I mean, with him, Ronald Jones Jr., the third, I should say, not the junior, but Ronald Jones the third, as well as not Le'Veon Bell. I'm sorry, I'm getting my teams mixed up. Leonard Fournette. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And old man Gronk to team up back with Brady, man. I mean, that offensive power is legit. Defensively, they're also legit, man. So pair that with Patrick Mahomes out there. I've said Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, Nicole Hardman. They have Le'Veon Bell and
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, man. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better Super Bowl offensively, at least.
Yeah, no,
So
I couldn't agree more. I mean, so let's dive into it. Obviously, we know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got here by beating the number one seeded Green Bay Packers, and the Kansas City Chiefs held off the Bills to go ahead and get here. Leading up to this game, obviously there was a little bit of drama with Pat Mahomes
right.
and his injury. Preceding this game. What is the talk around Pat Mahomes? What are we looking at?
Well, right now, the previous game, obviously, when he played the Cleveland Browns, he actually got tackled really bad. He was in concussion protocol. He passed that. He got out of that. But he does have a turf toe injury, I believe. Um, he didn't look to feel it too much versus the Bills. Obviously, I mean, they started off pretty slow, but once they started rolling, it didn't seem like a big deal. The thing to watch out for though is Eric Fisher, the left
Mm.
tackle, first round pick. Actually, I think he was the number one pick many years ago, but he tore his Achilles in that game against the Bills, and he will be out. They already, I think, were missing their right tackle as well, if I'm not mistaken. So a banged up offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, I'm pretty sure will be okay, especially with the 2 weeks off that he's had before the start of the game. But I think he will be okay. There's probably a lot of other injuries though that we do need to pay attention to. Like I said, left tackle, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was hurt a little bit, banged up before that. And then Le'Veon Bell hasn't played for a while, but he said, I guess he's going to make a go in this game. So that is the Chiefs injury report, I think, right now. On the other side, Antonio Brown does not look like he's doubtful, actually, for this game,
Right.
which is a real bummer
Yeah.
because I think this would be a great game for Antonio Brown to kind of get loose and show off what he can do. But
Well, and
we'll see.
not even in that factor, Antonio Brown also serves as a great decoy to
Right,
get Mike Evans, Godwin, Miller, and even Gronk open. So just
right,
having him on the field forces the defense to have to pay him attention. But now, knowing that he's hurt, even if he is out there, the defense may not focus in on him, even if he does play. So that is kind of a loss for the Bucks
right.
in that offense.
Yeah, as
Um,
well as I almost want to believe that what's his name, Mike Evans was a little bit banged up in that in
yeah,
that Bills game. I mean, I'm sorry, in that Packers game as well.
Packers game. Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely something to look out for because I mean, yes, we all know this is a Super Bowl. Yes, everybody wants to play and yes, perform at the highest level. But I mean, injuries are injuries, and trying to take off down the field with the you know mess up leg by any means is harder than people think. So both teams will have their fair share of injuries, despite the fact that the game won't be played until next Sunday.
Yeah. And then on top of injuries, a couple other things just to kind of watch out for. I'm sitting here looking in the notes, so I didn't, think this up. But one of the things that they do say to watch out for, Brady did throw 3 interceptions um, against the Packers, which against a team like Kansas City is not something that you can do because they'll get
Right.
up on you. They will turn those interceptions into points. And they will use that against you in any way possible. So that's definitely something to watch out for on the Tampa Bay side. Um, and we'll see how that goes from that side. Predictions. Let's. What do you got? Who's winning? What's the score? I know it's Kansas City by 3 right now, which again, like I always say for myself personally, a 3-point spread is a no point spread. Means Vegas really doesn't know, but they're just giving it to the Chiefs just because probably they're the defending champs. 57 points is the over under. What you got?
Right now, I'm looking. It's a tough one. I am looking around for the under. I know you've got these two teams that are high powered, and you would think that this is going to be an offensive game. And I could definitely see a case for the over as well. Um, but like I remind you, this is a Super Bowl. Teams get a little tight. They want to play, conservative. They don't want to give any other team an advantage. You just talked about Brady with the 3 picks. I mean, he's going to play aggressively, but he's not going to be taking a whole bunch of shots downfield unless he has to, unless he tries to crawl back into the game.
Right.
On the other side, Patrick Mahomes is a risk taker. He would throw the ball anywhere, but at the same time, I think they're going to try to focus a little bit more on their running game, not to burn Patrick Mahomes out. If you guys remember Super Bowl a few years ago, not a few years, I'm sorry, last year with your team, the 49ers, actually.
Mm-hmm.
they brought a lot at Patrick Mahomes, and for 3 quarters, he didn't really have that great of a game. I
Right.
mean, let's be honest. I mean, they brought the house, and I'm not saying that Tampa can replicate what 49ers did to him last year, but at the same time, they did do a lot. And I do think Tampa Bay, at least for their front line, is good enough. I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Dominic
Yeah.
Sue, Shaq Barrett, Devin White off the edge. Like, they have hitters that could go get the football if they need to. And like I said, with the fact that Kansas City doesn't have a lot of their or two of their tackles, especially their left tackle, I do see Patrick Mahomes being in a little bit of danger and not being able to, give us the highlights at least for an extended period of time in the game. So I would look more towards the under if you're asking me right now, um, and probably uh, I would still take Kansas City despite the situation. I think that the problems with Tampa Bay is going to be, can Brady manage a game for 4 quarters?
Yeah.
He looks great in spots, but sometimes it takes him a while to kind of get going. And like you just said, if you continue to give Patrick Mahomes chances, even with a great defense against him, example the 49ers last year, if you keep giving him opportunities to get the football back, regardless of how good your defense is, he will score eventually. And just like last year, when that fourth quarter came, he made plays. And I
Yeah.
kind of see it being the same exact way in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? You can never, never, ever count him out of anything, and that offense either. And so, yeah, I'm gonna lean towards the over though. I'm gonna take the unsafe bet here, and I'm gonna say this game is gonna go over. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a shootout. I'm gonna say that both defenses are gonna be on their heels for most of the game. I think we're going to see a good mix of running and throwing, but I'm going to say we're going to see the ball in the air a lot from both sides. And so I'm gonna I'm gonna pick this up to be like a 30-34 game. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's gonna go the home team's way at the end of the day. You know what I
Ooh.
mean? Like I'm just gonna go with the
Ooh.
unsafe bet here. I'm just going with the unsafe bet. I'm gonna say it's going the home team's way.
Head to
Um,
head. I like that. I
and
like that.
I think it's gonna be a shootout. I think we're gonna
Yeah.
have some because you know what I mean. Like I think at the end of the day, this is gonna be the first game that has this many fans. They're gonna have what 20, 25,
22.
22,000.
Yeah.
And so this is gonna be the first game that has this many people in one stadium, and I think that is going to benefit the home team because you're gonna, obviously it being in Florida, it makes it easier for there to be more Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans in that arena. You know what I mean? And in that
Right.
atmosphere, and so I think it just kind of favors the home team. Um, but that doesn't mean that Kansas City is just going to bow down. I think they're going to put their points on the board too. That's why I'm shooting for the over. But I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think it's going to edge the home team's way. That's how I feel about it, though.
Yeah, no, I'm as much as I would say the under, I'm hoping front over. I mean, let's have the best Super Bowl possible. I mean, if it's
Right.
Brady and Mahomes, man, let me see fireworks.
I mean, you got the
You know what
weekend
I'm
spending $7 million of his own
saying?
dollars to
Yeah,
perform.
exactly,
You try to
exactly,
turn it up. I mean, come on,
exactly.
man.
Let's.
You know what I
I
mean?
want to see the best Super Bowl you can have. But yeah, no, I can see that definitely be a situation. The question is, and I know it's hard for anybody to hear this, but I mean, can Tom Brady at this point at 43 come out there and battle a Patrick Mahomes to the end?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Obviously, back in the day when Peyton Manning had went and moved from the Indianapolis Colts and went to the Denver Broncos, that first year he was amazing. He had 55 touchdowns in the season, balled out, and then as soon as they played um, the Seattle Seahawks in that Super Bowl, if you guys remember, they looked terrible.
Yeah.
First play of the game was a safety, and then it steamrolled from there. And I'm not going to say that's the situation, but my point is this season going to affect Tom Brady towards the end? And even though he's been putting up numbers offensively in terms of touchdowns and throwing, and creating, big plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you've also seen him, like you said, throw picks towards the end of this season. He's starting to, not read coverages as well, and maybe short arm some throws. Will he be? I mean, I know Tom Brady. It's hard for me to sit here and say Tom Brady, will he be on top of his game? Because he will. But this is
Let me
still a first for a lot of these guys. I mean, we have to understand this. Bruce Arians, other than when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, hasn't been here before. Every single person, other than Jason Pierre-Paul, hasn't been in this situation.
let me
They're
tell
not
you
playoff. They're not
let me tell
playoff.
you why I feel like Tom Brady, and not the Tampa Bay Bucks, but Tom Brady specifically, is playing with house money, right?
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is for a lot of those reasons that you just named. Him, Gronk, JPP, the only guys
Right.
that have ever been in this situation, right?
Right.
So the real fight and the real who can hold it together isn't those three guys. It's, can that line hold it together? Can those receivers make the plays? Are they going to run their routes? Because if in fact, and we've seen it at points in this season, even if Tom Brady's a little bit off,
Right.
9 times out of 10, they're going to throw that blame on, oh, well, the receiver tapped his hands and it kind of went through, or the timing was off because Mike Evans isn't really used to Tom Brady. It's how the narrative really kind of goes. And so I feel like Tom Brady's playing with house money only because he got this team this far. Just because
Right.
he made it this far alone, it kind of negates any sort of, oh, his legacy's at stake and Tom Brady may not be, he's the GOAT. It's solidified. You know what I
Right.
mean? You
Of
brought
course.
you brought the Tampa Bay Bucks to the Super Bowl, a team. And if if you guys know anything about how they play in the Super Bowls, a little bit of the factoring in goes into the fact that they don't think that team's really going to make it. You know what I'm saying? When they go to put the team in that city, part of it has to do with their record, and it looks like, well, we don't believe that Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to end up in the Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 seasons. They did it. They got here.
Right.
They turned this team around. His legacy is already solidified. So whatever he does in this game, as long as he doesn't come out and just flat out stink it up,
Mm-hmm.
he's fine. Because the other thing is the onus is on the Kansas City Chiefs to say, hey, we're really as good as we were last year. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
49ers fell apart this year. The 49ers don't even look like a formidable opponent now. And so now you have this opportunity to come in here and beat the GOAT and this team that he brought from the ashes to the Super Bowl. I feel like the pressure is just a little bit more on Kansas City than it is on Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay wasn't even really expected to be here. Now that you're here, I got one game, I got 4 quarters. As long as the other factors come to play, meaning the line plays, the receivers run their routes, I'm still going to put my faith in Tom Brady only because he's done it so many more times. That's just me personally. And so that's why
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's playing with house money in the sense that as long as he just does not have a terrible game, doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Tom Brady, you're right. I mean, he's proven himself. He's already going to go down as the greatest quarterback of all time, whether he wins the Super Bowl or not. I mean, this is his 10th Super Bowl, and if you talk about longevity, I mean, to be in football for 20 years and you've been there 10 times or however many, I mean, that's unreal. I saw a stat that they actually said that him getting to the Super Bowl is a higher percentage than Steph Curry's 3 point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's unreal. Um, but with that being said, how is that affecting the rest of Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I
And
mean
what I mean
yeah, and that's the part you have to talk about. Is like, what does the rest of the team feel from that?
exactly because when you talk about LeBron and his situations, everybody knows that LeBron's legacy, he's chasing Jordan in terms of what the critics would say. So what happens by me saying that is what happens to everybody else, like Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson, all these guys that played alongside LeBron, Kevin Love, not really much Dwayne Wade, but Chris Bosh. These guys that have played on a team with him when he's went and tried to go for titles. When he wins, he wins. When they lose, it's either everybody else or the focus is strictly on LeBron James because it's his career, not everybody else's. Nobody cares about J.R. Smith. Nobody cares about Iman Shumpert and all these other
Yeah.
guys.
Well,
It's
listen.
not them.
Listen, if you're lucky enough to be on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, you're just gonna have to suck it up and accept it. If
Very
they win
true.
and Tom Brady gets the glory and you still get a ring, just be happy that you got that ring because let's be honest, you had no real shot otherwise. Like it's one of those things that you just kind of have to eat, and it's just gonna be that because you really didn't. You didn't have a real shot without a real court. I mean, you could have got Carson Wentz or Gardner Minshew in the offseason and you would not be here right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, or you guys could have stuck with Fitzmagic and signed him and you would not be here right now. So yeah, I feel where you're coming from where it's like, hey, if we win, all the onus is gonna be on Brady, but if we lose, all of it's gonna be on us. Oh well.
No,
Like
and that's
let's
and that's what I mean by that, and I understand that. But also in a deeper sense, what now happens to these players in terms of okay, I'll give you an example. Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin played on a team with Jameis Winston. Jameis didn't do anything. I mean, he got him the ball. He had a great year with him the year before, prior to it, but there's no expectations. There was nobody cared if Chris Godwin was Chris Godwin. And
right.
if you get what I'm saying. Same thing with Mike Evans. Now they're at the top. This is the pinnacle. This is where you want to get to. They might not have been ready for it, but they've been put here. Now
I
you have to perform because you're not. It's not about your legacy at this point. This is about Tom's legacy. So can they, get to the point where they can perform at that high level? Because look, Chris Godwin, let's be honest, has had drops
yeah.
galore in these
Yeah.
last in this playoff run.
Absolutely.
Is he going to be ready to perform not just for himself because hey this could put him into a higher level and now he could be a higher receiver or a higher known receiver, or is he going to get tight and start dropping
So
balls and start thinking too much because
yeah,
when you play for Brady, this is the expectation now. It's championship or bust.
yeah, no, and it's definitely that. And for a guy like Godwin specifically, I think he's probably got the most nerves and the most reason to kind of have to really hone in and focus in. And I'm hoping he's spending, this past week and this coming week, really taking the time to clear his mind of whatever, has got him kind of off pattern and really kind of focusing in because you're right. Somebody like him, I can see that.
Yeah.
And Evans, I don't really fear as much criticism for a Mike Evans just because he's shown up so much and shown out in so many
Right.
different ways. I think he's going to have a good game. I think barring any form of injury or pain, he's going to do what he can to play his very best game. But yeah, I mean the Scotty Millers of the world, there is a little pressure on you. The Gronk, not so much. You know what I mean? Again, because he's a
Right.
seasoned veteran kind of guy, and we're not looking at you as my number one, number two guy. I'm not going to put as much pressure. Again, if AB was fully healthy and playing this game, same thing. I wouldn't see as much pressure on him because of who he is, and he's a proven player. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, I would say your Godwins. I would say that secondary, the Tampa Bay secondary. I think a lot of pressure's on them to
Very much
perform.
so. Very
Um,
much so.
that
Very much
that
so.
that that Tampa Bay defensive line to get pressure on Pat Mahomes. I think there's a lot of pressure on them. Those are the guys I think that really, really are going to be scrutinized if, in fact, this game does not go the Buccaneers' way. I think it is that that we're really going to see the pressure from in preserving Tom's legacy and making sure that the game is played in such a way that Tom doesn't have to really be in bad field position. all these other factors I think are really going to come into play. But again, yeah, Godwin, Evans, whoever ends up playing in the offensive side, there is going to be some light on y'all. But I
I
don't think
would.
it's.
I'm sorry. I would also throw in there the offensive lineman. Tristan Wirth
Oh yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
is a number one pick. He was their left tackle, number one pick, and he's played
Listen,
outstanding this year. But I mean,
If you're on Tampa Bay, this is your time to earn your money because let's be honest.
mhm,
Tom Brady is not. I mean, this is in effect his last football game for real. Let's be honest, right?
right?
Um, and so when he walks off this field next year, your team is not coming back here. We're gonna be honest about that. And
Yeah,
so that has to be a realistic focus in that locker room. Like, hey, y'all want one of these things? You want to hoist a championship? You want a ring? Focus in. We got 4 quarters to do it, and let's do it. Whereas again, I know I'm flip flopping a little bit, but I'm allowed to do that. Whereas in that particular area, I don't think the Chiefs have as much pressure. I still think the pressure is on the Chiefs to win overall. But in that particular area, I don't think there's as much pressure on the Chiefs only because they won it last year. And that team, in effect, will probably stick together for the formidable future. And
right.
so, if for whatever reason the Bucks manage to win this game, that team will still be pretty much intact and have an opportunity to compete again next year. This Tampa Bay Bucks team, this is it. Lay it
Yeah,
out on the line. Play your best football if you guys want a chance to have a championship because all the factors are in your favor. It's at home. You guys have, Florida's been the most open state throughout COVID. I don't know why that matters, but to me it matters. And it just seems like y'all have every reason to go ahead and win this football game. And so I would hope those guys that have been off in the last couple of weeks, y'all find a way to focus and y'all find a way to make sure that you do everything you can to preserve Tom's legacy. And it's your own legacy at stake too. I mean, yeah.
yeah,
Is it safe to say LeBron carried the Cavs to the championship? Yes. But is it also safe to say that Tristan Thompson and his kids can proudly look at his trophy and say that he has one? Yes, they can. So,
yep.
you know what I mean? Godwin, let's go. Get it together, bro.
I mean, if you use that comparison, I mean, Tristan Thompson also got $85 million after that. So
Thank you. And
yeah,
does nothing.
winning a Super Bowl
Nothing
will
now.
change your life. Whether it's Tom Brady's ultimate success story,
Right.
or your family's lifestyle, because it basically winning a Super Bowl changes things completely. I mean, we're not going to sit here and lie and say that Patrick Mahomes wouldn't have gotten $500 million, but when you win a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, on top of getting an MVP, and you're what, under 25, most of the time people will give you that type of money because they think you're going to continue to do it, especially when you get
Oh.
back here now.
And I just checked the list. Godwin is a free agent at the end of this season.
There
So
you go.
you got every reason to perform, brother.
And honestly, I mean, we'll talk about some of the prop bets later, but I mean, if you ever needed a prop bet to go over, I mean, that guy better play a hell of a game, because people look at what they last saw you in. Let's just be honest. People remember what they last saw you in. Everybody remembers Jimmy G for not completing that pass that could have won them the Super Bowl. That's why, I mean, most people that watch this show that are Bay Area fans, whether you're a Raider fan or you're a 49er fan, I can tell you right now, every single person out here is down on Jimmy G because of that one throw in the
Yep.
Super Bowl.
Yep.
And that's a fact. What
Yep.
you do in that last time that they see you, the world sees you, is what will stick with you. So Chris
Yeah.
Godwin, you want to get paid, either way, you want to be in Tampa or you want to go somewhere else, you better have a game on Sunday, because
Listen.
if you drop that ball,
Listen.
that contract will drop too.
If how you play if you need an example of how you play matters, Antonio Brown is on a Super Bowl contending team right now.
Exactly.
Strictly off the fact of the last time we saw him on the field, he was awesome.
Exactly.
Like excluding all the other crap we saw between then,
Exactly.
he
Yeah.
is on a Super Bowl contending team solely because how he performs on the field. So, Godwin, If you need any incentive, he's like right, like a few lockers down from you. There
Yeah.
you go, right there. So
Go talk to him and figure out. Well, talk to him and just about football. Anything else he talks about,
no, yeah,
let it
Jesus,
go.
no, no, don't talk
Don't
about
keep that
anything
part in
else.
your mind. But whatever is football related, yeah. But anything else, no. Let's talk a little bit about Kansas City since we spent a lot of time on
Yeah,
Tampa Bay. What does this mean for Patrick Mahomes' legacy, even though he is, he's only been a quarterback in the NFL for about 3 years now, 4 years. I mean, we obviously know the trajectory he's on. We can see it across the field with Tom Brady. What does this do now for Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs? What does this now mean
I
if
think
they could pull this off?
I think they pulled it off. Obviously, first of all, the Chiefs organization, it's a major win. You got two Super Bowls out of a man still on his rookie contract. Um, oh no, he resigned. So my bad.
Well, no, it doesn't come into effect until
To
next year,
next
so he
season.
still
So
would
yeah,
be on his
technically,
rookie
yeah.
contract.
So
Yeah,
technically, you got two Super Bowls out of a man on his rookie contract.
right.
So kudos to you as an organization for making that happen.
Yeah,
Um, but on the flip side, now that his money kicks in, some of these other guys that are no longer rookies, you're gonna have to pay some of these people. You know what I mean?
right,
You're gonna have to pay a great deal of these people. And so, how many of these people can you pay? And especially if they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, how many of those guys can you afford to keep and can you afford to pay? I think legacy-wise, and in terms of how this team is viewed, obviously they'll be up there with some of the best teams in history. Should they go back-to-back, especially beating Tom Brady, who's obviously done what he's done for the Tampa Bay Bucks this year. And so I think that'll put the Chiefs up there as one of the top teams in NFL history if they can win. However, if they don't win, I still don't look at them. I still don't. It's still not a bad thing for them as long as they compete, because there is still enough of an opportunity for them to return. Obviously, Pat Mahomes will resign. Some of the other core players can come back, and you can move some pieces around. I mean, there's some guys that are, I don't. We'll get into free agency after the season's over. But there's some guys out there in free agency that you can move pieces around. Obviously, the Chiefs organization is smart, and they can put the pieces into place. So I think that they still have an opportunity to continue to be a winning football team moving forward.
right.
For a couple more seasons. But I don't think, obviously a win solidifies them as one of the greater teams in football history, but a loss doesn't kill them, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is an outstanding football player. He's the best football player in the NFL, not named Aaron Donald. But I do believe right now, I mean, him just getting to the Super Bowl to return champion, or to return to the Super Bowl, is good enough in itself. They re-signed Kelsey as well, with his contract, and I think it's all tied into the same exact time period, along with Andy Reid. They gave him the same extension, so those three will be tied at the hip until they don't want him there anymore. But I mean, the Chiefs, and I hate to say this being a Raiders fan, I mean, the Chiefs don't look like they're going to be slowing down anytime soon. Which is why the NFL or any team in the NFL needs to understand this. If you get that quarterback, you need to pay him and keep him and treat him right, i.e., the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
Do not let your
Yeah.
superstar quarterback out of the building
No.
because you cannot replace him. I don't care how many first round picks you get. You have to understand those kind of players do not come around at all.
Mm-hmm.
At all. But yeah, no, the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, having those three in the building. Also, Tyreek Hill, who has turned himself into one hell of a receiver. Even though before, obviously the off court stuff, I won't speak about it. But and then also he came into the NFL as a punt returner, and now
Right.
is probably one of the best, if not the best receiver right now in football.
And then
I mean,
obviously, speaking of second chances, you got Kareem Hunt in the mix too there.
yeah.
Um, so
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, let's give credit to Andy Reid. I mean, he does bring players in that maybe, a lot of teams in the NFL have turned their backs on, and produces, he gets the most out of them. At least
Yeah,
they do what they can when they're with him. I mean, I can't say, without him, but when
it's a
they're with him, they
Belichick
buy in.
Belichick move. Belichick was
Yeah,
also pretty good at doing that too. So
Belichick hit a murderer. So he might be the best at it. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm sorry. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
I
and
know
then a
that's a
whole
jab,
host
but I
of
mean,
other interesting characters on that team. Antonio
very.
Brown, Josh Gordon.
Shoot, Rob Gronkowski's interesting too. He's not
Yeah,
bad interesting, but he's definitely interesting.
wasn't Ocho Cinco on that team for a while?
He was Randy
Yeah,
Moss as
Randy
well.
Moss. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
They find him. They find him. But I mean, and a lot of that is because a lot of these guys, I mean, they have their problems, but they're hell of a football players. And if you feel like you can corral them and get to them to a certain point, I actually heard a story with Travis Kelce not too long ago. I think he's speaking to Shannon Sharp about his situation when Andy Reid drafted him. Same thing. He was a problem when he was at the University of Cincinnati, and Andy Reid actually had to call because his Travis Kelce's brother Jason Kelce plays for the Eagles, and he's the Pro Bowl, been a Pro Bowl center for forever. But he's a stand-up guy, and he had to call Jason Kelce before he drafted Travis and be like, "I need you to make sure your brother stays the course."
Yeah.
And Jason said, "I got you." And I mean, it worked out obviously for the best because Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. I mean, no disrespect to George Kittle, but
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, you gotta give credit where credit is due, and that's a certain thing. And so yeah, I mean, the Chiefs again as a team, they've been able to put it together. They've been able to take these pieces and build a team that is obviously more than just a contender, but a real threat for years to come. And so speaking on that, I think that's a good way to segue into, and you mentioned it, future
yep.
odds. After this game is over, obviously Vegas and all the sports fans will start to look at next season. Who are? We'll start from the. I'm gonna give you your top two, and then who are your kind of long shots. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so a lot of like we talked about, a lot of next year is, I guess, future bets will hinder on trades, free agents, draft picks, depending on what happens. But now is always a good time to look at odds because right now a lot of Vegas odds they're not worried about next season. They kind
Mm-hmm.
of thinking like, hey, whatever happens, happens. We'll take bets on it because we don't know and they don't know what players will move around and what people will do. Funny, if you guys have watched this show, throughout its entirety. Last year, we actually talked a little bit about this, and we were talking actually about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we thought that they might be, pretty good, a pretty good bet. We didn't pull the trigger, which is stupid of us, but that was before Tom Brady got there, and that's what I mean. Tom Brady inserted. If we bet early, we probably got a good odd on it. Could be have a whole bunch of money in the pocket. But
Right.
we'll talk about it this year and what's going to happen next year. The top favorites, of course, are the same. Kansas City Chiefs right now are 6-1, along with the Green Bay Packers, Baltimore Ravens, followed by 12-1, followed by the Bills, and then the Buccaneers. San Francisco is following that. On the opposite side, Jacksonville is the worst with 100-1 odds. New York Jets 80-1 odds. Houston Texans 80-1 odds. Detroit, of course, and Cincinnati. Now, Detroit actually just got. We need to talk about that, even though it's not Super Bowl related, but it is football related. There was a huge trade last night with Matt Stafford was traded actually to the LA Rams for Jared Goff and a whole bunch of first round picks, 2 first round picks and a third pick actually, along with Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions. So that Detroit Lions pick at 80-1 probably is going
So
to get a little bit worse.
so is yeah, I was about to say, is Detroit just tanking? Is that what they feel like they
I
need to
think
do?
that they're going to try to accumulate more draft picks. They might try to see what Jared Goff has. I mean, they want to get younger. They want to change the culture over there.
Well, yeah,
I
Jared Goff is not getting you any younger, but
Yeah, true. But they also got first round picks for it, and they also have a good running back over there. So I think they're going to try to reorganize that whole thing. Something like the Houston Texans probably will have to do once Deshaun Watson
yeah, demands
exits.
is yeah.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this. Obviously, I get right to the chase. The picks that I would be looking at personally. Right now, I have a few. I would go with 25-1. I like the Colts and the Miami Dolphins for a lot of different reasons. The Colts, I honestly feel, are a quarterback away from being outstanding. Phillip Rivers did what he could when he was down there, but I mean, Phillip is Phillip. He's old. And a hell of a career for Phillip, but he's old.
Yeah.
So I thought they were going to probably get Matt Stafford. That's what I was hoping. But that didn't turn out that way. But like I said, they're one quarterback away. I think the Miami Dolphins, same thing. They have a great defense down there. They're starting to build. I like to coach Brian Flores.
You know what
Um,
one report says that may happen for Indianapolis?
what's that?
Jameis.
I'd take it. Jameis can throw the football. He throws it to everybody,
Jameis
but
can throw the
he can
football.
throw the football.
He
So
can throw the football, and I like to see him in the AFC one good time.
yeah, New Orleans would be crazy to let him go right now because if they think that Taysom Hill is going to be their quarterback for the future, good luck. That's not happening.
Yeah.
Um, and then we talked about it. The Raiders at 50-1.
Yeah, I'm taking
Depending on what
that.
they do in this offseason, I think they could. I do like
I'm
that.
I'm taking, and I'll say this. I usually keep what I do with my money very very private, but for anybody who wants to ride with me, because I feel like one of these is going to hit, I'm taking the Raiders as a future bet for like the next 3 seasons, even if it's $20. I don't even care. You know what I'm saying? At 50-1, what's that? $1,000 or something like that on a $20 bet. So yeah, even if it's $20, I'm taking the Raiders for the next 3 seasons only because I feel like there's going to be a lot of pressure from their financial backers from them to make a winning team out of what they have and force them along to get it together. And even if that means getting rid of Mr. Down and Distance at the helm and some of the other things there. Not to say, I mean, I don't think John Green's a bad coach at all. But if some changes needed to be made, I feel like all the forces that have the Raiders in Vegas will do what they need to do to get what they want to have happen in that town because that's kind of how they work.
I like that. I mean I'm very critical. Obviously, the Raiders are my team, and I watch them extremely close. But they're young, and I do think that they do have the potential to possibly later on be good. They are moving in the right direction. I think that they do need better coaching. Um, and I'm more looking at John Gruden, but I think Matt Mayock has done a tremendous job in scouting talent and finding players that can play. Um, they haven't, it hasn't translated into wins specifically yet, but that will come in time once these guys are taught right and taught the right thing. So yes, I agree with you. I might have to double up on that. I mean, I do feel like building that star ship in Vegas, the Black Knight or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's going to come with a price,
Yep.
and championship will probably satisfy the backer. So
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Another one I'm looking at, and I said this to you, only because again, we're talking long shots. I'm throwing Washington football team in the mix. Mainly because of how I saw them play once Alex Smith came back. It seemed like they kind of rallied around him. I don't see him being a quarterback for that team long term. They're gonna have to get somebody young and somebody that can play for a few seasons, and obviously
Right.
this may not be the season, maybe 2, 3 seasons down the line. But I have a feeling that that team's going to improve tremendously, and I think they have a lot of ability to improve over there in Washington. And so I look at them as one of my long shots. You put a good solid quarterback and one or two good people on that defensive line that can get a pass rush going over there. They actually might be something to compete with.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, they're not really that much of a long shot now, which is surprising because they've been a laughing stock forever. But the Cleveland Browns actually have a lot of cap room. They have the most cap room in the NFL, surprisingly, even though Odell plays for them and Myles Garrett, who command big money. But they have Baker who's on a rookie deal. They have Nick Chubb who's still on a rookie deal. They have a whole bunch of players that are not getting paid that much, and they have cap to build more or to build up. And we talked about Pittsburgh being the joke of the NFL now. I believe they still will be next year
Yeah.
because they're still going to ride with Ben.
Well, yeah, I was going to
Um,
ask you about like one or two teams that you think may flop for next year. You just said Pittsburgh. I'm going to put Dallas on that list. I think they're going to reap what they sow in not, having treated Dak properly. I think they're going to end up getting another quarterback, and I think that quarterback's not going to perform well. I don't think it's going to be an injury thing. I just think them as a team, personally, I mean, obviously I'm a 49ers fan. There's nothing I could ever say nice about Dallas in my life. But even if I wanted to attempt to, I don't think it'll happen next season. Like, I think they're going to flop fairly bad.
yeah, I do too. Mike McCarthy is not the answer. He never
Um,
was. He wasn't in Green Bay. A lot of things, and that's why I touched on earlier when I was talking about quarterbacks. Having a great quarterback is important and essential to winning. Um, Aaron Rodgers made Mike McCarthy. Let's just be
yeah,
honest. I
yeah.
mean, it showed completely last season in Dallas. Um, and I think the game is past him. I think he's an old school coach that just doesn't have it. I think that Jerry Jones is too stubborn in his ways. Sorry, Dallas fans, if you guys hear this, but you should already know this. I don't think that anything will change as long as Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, because he just doesn't get it anymore. Like the screws are loose up there
Yeah.
in Mr. Jones's head. So, um, yeah, I agree. I think that Washington would be a good pick, but in terms of flopping next year, I do. I think that whole conference. I think Cleveland is going to be as crazy as it sounds. I think Cleveland is going to take over that division for the foreseeable future. I
Ooh.
Baltimore. I don't see it.
No, no,
The
you don't
style
see
of
it.
as much as I like Baltimore going into this playoffs, the way they looked in the playoffs, I just don't think they can win anymore.
Yeah, I think football is past the hardballs in general. Even though
Yeah,
the other one got re-signed at Michigan, in which we both said for what.
right.
Um, here in Baltimore, it just seems like it was fun for a few seasons. It was cute, but it's not sustainable. It's not something that you can really build a franchise off of. I don't think so. Because it's not plug and play. Because if something happens to Lamar Jackson, heaven forbid, you can't put anybody else in that system and it just work.
Right.
Um, and so that's yeah. Nah, I don't know what Baltimore is going to do. Um, some of these other teams too. It's just going to be obviously the offseason really matters. But Seattle, you got Russell Wilson. What else do you have? Los Angeles Rams.
The Rams will be tough. I mean, I know why they made that move. Um, they needed a quarterback that they could count on.
Yeah.
They needed one that can make the throws, and as long as Stafford stays healthy, he could do it. The
Um,
Rams will be better. But I mean,
Another
yeah,
team I got a question mark next to because they're in the 66-1 category. Atlanta Falcons. What are y'all gonna do? Because,
well, Matt
whew,
Ryan, I believe, is a free agent. I think they
Bye.
have they have an early pick, so they probably will go quarterback with that pick.
Yeah, they
Um,
if you don't, I don't know what you're doing over there because
they
it's
have a lot of holes because I mean I'm going to say this, and I know it's probably unpopular for people in Atlanta, but it might be time to trade Julio Jones, and
oh yeah,
not because of the lack of talent, but the fact that you're not going to be a contender for a while, and if you are, you're going to have to spend a whole bunch of money to get there. So if you plan to do all that, or you plan to kind of rebuild from the ground up,
yeah. You need that
you're gonna
money.
you need the money and you need the draft picks.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Julio can get you both of those because he would
yeah,
be amazing on any contender of a team.
yeah,
And so it might be time to just say goodbye to number 11 and just, you know what I'm saying? Like 2 and 11, because I mean, obviously Matt Ryan has got to go.
yeah,
So, you know, and you might as well let go of Todd Gurley too, because I don't even know what's going on with Todd Gurley, to be honest with you. Like that, I
yeah. I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know. I don't know.
But
So yeah, we'll see. I didn't bring this article up. I probably should have before I even mentioned this. But there's something we could talk about this maybe in a later episode too that I saw. A brief headline was like, "What happens to the guys that sat out this season?" Um, how do we look at those players? Where do they go? Where do they come back into the mix?
right.
Due to sitting out a full season and what goes on. And maybe that's something that we bring up in a later thing. All right, well, before we get out of here, this has obviously been the Super Bowl episode, How the Flagrant the podcast. Couple things we want y'all to know. We are now featured on the Blackpreneur app. Make sure you get the Blackpreneur app. Check out the Flagrant Foul podcast. It'll give you updates, let you know when we drop new episodes. So we want to make sure we shout them out and thank them for putting us on the
Yes.
app. Make sure you hit the subscribe button when you go to the YouTube. When you click on this from wherever, whether you clicked on it from Instagram or the website, if you go to YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notifications when we drop new episodes. All right, so make sure you check that out. But Hella Flagrant the podcast, we in here. As y'all already know and expect, we will be right back with more sports news once Super Bowl is over. We got plenty of NBA stuff that's coming right up. NFL offseason, our picks, the draft. There's plenty of some college basketball is underway. We got plenty of stuff coming at y'all. So, Hella Flagrant podcast, make sure y'all tune in every possible place you can think of. We're there. All you got to do is type hashtag Hella Flagrant. You can go to our Instagram, you can go to our website. You can find all the ways to listen to the Hella Flagrant podcast and tap in with us.
Yeah, I mean, this is all for y'all. So just, like I said, like, subscribe, follow everything we have. You can still find all the episodes of the Hella Flagrant podcast on www.theflagrantfoul.com. Obviously on YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever streaming podcasts are available. And like you said, Blackpreneur, the app, please go download that, and thank you to them for allowing us to be seen on their website. But yeah, so we're going to try to continue to make content, obviously, for you guys. So just keep tuning in, and like I said, it's all of this is for y'all. So just follow, like, and subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode very soon.
For sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Well, on that note, we up out of here. Hella Flagrant the podcast. Make sure you check us out. We out.
Hey, Super
Peace.
Bowl, man, let's get it.
Let's get it.